Hello, this is Frank from the future, editing the podcast episode. I just wanted to add a note here that we are talking about corks from a beginner to intermediate to advanced stage, and we kind of give tips for each. So if you're more intermediate or advanced, this is just to know where you would want to skip to. So if you already know all the beginner stuff, you could skip to the 12-minute mark. For the intermediate stuff, and then if you want the juicy trick theory, you can skip ahead to the 23-minute mark, because that's when we talk about that kind of stuff for the advanced people. It's just about like trick and history and trick theory regarding cork. So thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Talking Tricks. Finally, I got with me, Jason and Bryce, as always. How you doing, boys?
Bryce?
I fucking exist.
Oh,
Pretty cool. What's
Yep.
up?
Welcome to unofficial season 2, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We didn't just fall off the face of the planet. Yeah,
No. This hiatus was 100% intended and
Yeah.
is in fact just to separate seasons.
We were actually very intensely studying trick theory the whole time. I had this big test on trick theory to do. So I spent the past 4 months just studying trick theory for that test. But I'm on the other side better now. I passed, and I'm fucking ready to learn some trick theory, or to teach you guys some trick theory.
Yeah, teach us what you've learned, Frank.
Exactly. But yeah, glad to be back. Glad to have the boys back. But today we are talking about corks, straight up corks. That's it. So I think this is a topic that warrants a whole episode on its own, because cork is just such an integral part of tricking. I mean, I think many of us in tricking are like, this is the tricking trick that like belongs to trickers. Even though capoeira people were doing it before, but still, it's still very near and dear to all of our hearts. And I'm sure you guys would agree, especially with triple cork being such a huge milestone and stuff. So.
It's definitely important to the tricking identity.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Those things that everybody unconsciously measures themselves by, even if they don't know.
Exactly. So, basically how we're going to talk about this episode is we're going to go through some tips. We're not a tutoring podcast, and also, like, the auditory medium isn't the best for it, but I thought it'd still be good to kind of hit on some of this. So, it's going to be pretty quick, but we are also going to go through the history of tricking and some trick theory related to corks, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, let's get started on some beginner tips for all the beginners listening out there. So, do you guys have anything to tell these people?
Sure. I think I'd like to get started by kind of talking about how learning cork can go wrong at the beginning, because this is something that I had to deal with a whole lot. And if there's anything that you all could hopefully benefit from, it's not having to go through this yourself. Cork is one of those moves that has you potentially landing in a very unfavorable position. That is directly on your side, just flat on your side from like a couple feet up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real way to prepare yourself for this, right? This is just one of those things that's going to hurt you if you do it a significant number of times. And so that means that you're really limited, if you're going to be falling that way, in the number of attempts that you can have at cork in any given training session.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, to know, it's also like super fucking draining. I actually get this specific issue with cheat 720 twists. Whenever I do cheat 720 twists, I'm like just exploding. And I can only do like 3 or 4 falls before I'm like, yeah, fuck this shit. So
I've literally never seen Frank do G7 to us. I mean, that's not entirely true, but
yeah,
that is a truly rare sight.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this emphasizes that, particularly in the beginning, where having lots of attempts where you can get a chance to get a feeling for the movement in the air and also to make adjustments to your technique, that's really important. But you're not necessarily going to have as as much access to them as you'd like if you're going straight to the floor and if you're consistently falling in an unfavorable way. So, having access to a foam pit or something soft to fall on is great. Even going up onto a big, resi mat or something like that, just so that you're not having to worry so much about the impact repeating over and over again, cutting you off from more attempts. Eventually you're going to want to go to the floor, obviously, because there's no substitute for taking something to the floor. Mm-hmm. But prior to having that feeling of what you're doing in the air, prior to being able to get an attempt around to like your hands and knees, there's really no point in just repeatedly slamming yourself against the ground over and over again, because it's making you learn cork slower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a trade-off thing, because I think, falling is always going to be a part of tricking, but if you're falling to the point where it stops you from drilling more corks, then that's an inefficient way to drill corks. So I think that's the important thing to note. So learning how to fall is obviously going to be important here once you do get to floor. And the matter of falling is definitely something you learn through trial and error, but as a general rule, you don't want to be super stiff as you're falling, because that definitely increases the rate of injury. You kind of want to, once you're hitting the floor and you're not going to land, you're almost going limp in a way, and you're kind of trying to roll out from that fall. And that's really going to save your joints. Jason, do you have any tips for beginners?
Yeah, I would say really focus on trying to invert or, make inversion a priority when you're learning cork. As someone who did not do that, I find it is much harder to add flip to cork than it is to, learn how to do it horizontally. So, basically just don't start developing bad habits with cork. Just, try to get some inversion and stick to that early, so that way you don't, like I said, just have a hard time struggling with that later.
And that might seem kind of scary, but actually adding a bit of inversion to your cork is going to add a bit of a safety factor, because it's going to have you coming down less on your side and more, towards your front, the direction your knees bend.
So on your stomach with all your soft organs. Yeah. I'm just kidding. No, it's still safer.
No, but coming down on your hands and feet as opposed to directly on your side, where your hands and legs don't extend out in front of, where you're just going to slam.
Yeah, I learned it the old school way, and we'll talk about that in the history of cork section. But I did a lot of slamming on my just side of my leg entirely, trying to learn cork. And I did try to learn cork a lot, so there was a lot of crash. So yeah, I would just say, if you can, invest skill points into gainer switch for lots of inversion. Do that early on before approaching cork, I think, and yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of falling on your hands, though, I will say that falling on your hands forward is definitely way better than if you fall on your hands backwards. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're over flipping something and you put your hands back. That is a very, very common mechanism of injury. I've even had a personal friend who tore their medial collateral ligament, which is just a ligament in their elbow, while doing that. So, that's there's literally a term for it in the medical field, fushed, which is falling on the outstretched hand, because it's such a common mechanism of injury. So, something to note, maybe doesn't correlate as much with cork, because I don't see people doing that as much, but still worth noting. And the other thing
common with trying to do a front flip or something like that. People are falling, not quite making it onto their heel.
Yeah, landing short. I do see a lot of people actually with a lot of power. Some people who can naturally jump high do this with backflip. They'll try to land a backflip and they still haven't gotten their bearings of when to open up, and they'll overflip it and then kind of land backwards. But yeah, so and also I wanted to bring up something about Jason's point about the vertical versus horizontal, or I guess I should say inverted versus horizontal corks. I do completely agree with that tip. That being said, it is as someone who did learn it really inverted at first, it is a double-edged sword because sometimes I just want more horizontal corks because they just look prettier with like shurikens and other things like that. And I think they're actually like slightly better for swings personally. So having to learn to make my cork more horizontal, not quite like exactly horizontal, but like a 45 was a little harder for me. I had like my corks were too inverted for the longest time. So yeah.
It's funny you say that. Isaiah has a similar sentiment. He's like, I wish I could, do more horizontal corks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, you don't.
They look so good, though. I love them. Grass is always greener, though. So.
Of course, yeah. Find a middle ground between super inverted and horizontal, and you should be straight.
Yeah. Honestly, I personally think 45 is optimal, but that's just me. Last thing I'll bring up to beginners is like I said, we're an auditory medium, so you should definitely check out like KTL or Mastering Tricking to watch some videos on, those are some really good resources for learning tricks for the first time. Likely everyone who's watching this already knows that, but still worth bringing up. We just had Kyle Epic Mendoza back in the day, who was like,
yeah. Bryce, hold on, Bryce, tell me you watched Kyle, right? You watched Kyle Mendoza, right?
I watched a couple of episodes. It definitely wasn't the major influence of mine, though, when I was growing up in the tricking spheres.
Who was your
Who
tricks,
was the guy
who
that
was
I
your
would
tutorials?
teach
Yeah, yeah.
Gosh, okay, so
the homies.
I tried to like assimilate shit by watching tutorials. So it was not by watching tutorials, by watching samplers. So I watched the shit out of all the Mr. Double ABCDF samplers and just like broke down all the tricks for myself. And now most of the shit that was in those samplers would never be things that I would be working on, but damn did I just sit there and try to like break them apart.
Yeah, I agree.
I was just curious.
That is a surprisingly good way to learn, actually, too. It's just like watching. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I only ever really saw lots of tutorial videos after I had already learned all the tricks that I was really, really interested in, and then I looked at tutorials. I was like, oh wow, that would have been a really great resource to have access to.
I will say, yeah, sampler watching is better if you have the eye for it. If you know like exactly what you're looking for and you can follow what they're doing, which is kind of hard as a beginner. So yeah, I would say that's where a lot of intermediate tricks come from. Like when people have already learned from tutorials and they know how to do the tricks, sampler watching is definitely a huge way they learn, which is a perfect segue to our intermediate level tricks. So, so yeah, this is for people
or at least rather our intermediate level of discussion of cork. As we'd been talking up to right now, we'd hopefully been trying to give advice that was well suited for those folks who haven't yet learned their cork or are really in the very final stages of solidifying their understanding of it. Now we kind of want to speak more to those people who can land it consistently but wouldn't say that they have mastered it. Like they wouldn't say that it's precisely where they want it to be so that they can stop working on it for more than just like, continual maintenance sort of stuff. Like they're still actively working on this skill and they might have some important tips for execution that they might not be considering.
Yep. And my biggest tip for kind of everyone who, just for tricks in general, to be honest, and you may have heard me talk about this in the podcast before, but being really mindful about how you do tricks is super important to me. I think you got to be aware of like, okay, like film yourself and see where you're screwing up and see where it looks different from how other people do corks, or how people who do corks more efficiently, it looks like. Something that I personally ran into a lot is when I started being more mindful about my corks, I noticed that my swing leg wasn't really coming up a lot. And I was like, oh shit, like let me focus on that. Let me try to bring that leg up, keep my body upright while my leg is coming up. And I found that helped my corks a ton. So I think that's the biggest tip I could give personally.
And when it comes to getting your swing leg up, I've heard various bits of advice about where your body's supposed to be and where you're supposed to be looking and all these various things. But can you give me some picture of like, where am I pointing the top of my foot on my swing leg? Where am I pointing my hips
Hmm.
and stuff like that as
Absolutely.
I'm coming up through my swing? Where should those be as my foot is still firmly planted on the ground versus as my toes are just, leaving? Can you give me some impression of those things?
Yeah, so for me, actually, a tip that really opened my mind personally was someone once told me to kick my right foot between my left shoulder and my left ear. And I was like, oh wow, now I have like a defined target of where to go instead of just like straight up or like really over the side. I find that gives you a really good angle for your cork. Um, in terms of your hips, I mean, you want them aligned until your legs are pretty much up in the air, and then you can start twisting them. And then your body, like I was describing, you kind of want to keep it upright. I mean, it also depends what kind of cork you're going for. Because if you're going for height, you want to keep your body more upright, so that you're kind of going up more. If you're going for more swingy corks, I find that like really flippy corks are good for those, and so I'm gonna start leaning back a lot earlier on those types of corks.
You got to hit it with that gangsta lean.
Absolutely. So, um,
That's a perfect segue into my little bit of tip because it really comes down to the difference between when you decide to change your spot there, where you're going to wind up doing either a really flippy cork, as Frank was saying, or something that's going to get a little bit more of that lift into it. So, uh, besides just the tips that Frank was giving for your swing leg and your hip position specifically, this will really be guided by how long you're keeping your eyes focused in front of you, where you're looking during your swing, versus spotting the ground right beneath you, which is the second spot during a cork that you're going to be hitting and you're going to be maintaining right up until you hit the ground again and are ready to reset and either, swing into your next cork where your eyes will lift up to your first spot. And you could either continue doing this or you can do whatever other trick you have coming out. Uh, the difference in timing is really what makes the difference in this set because you can either hold that spot right in front where you start your swing, and that will keep your chest more upright just naturally as you're forced to keep your face pointing in that same direction. Or you can immediately start looking for the ground behind you, and this will naturally force you to cut your height downward. It'll force your legs to sort of go around your center of mass, which you'll be forcing down towards the ground as you stick your head back that way.
you
So
know,
yeah,
and
it
And
excuse
that's
me.
something. Sorry, that's something I actually just realized that I was thinking about a lot when I was switching up my swing leg a lot. I was telling myself, okay, keep looking forward till I see my foot come into view, and like that's how I know I've been like, a that I'm bringing my leg up, and b that like I'm keeping my body upright. Um, but sorry, I just wanted to bring that up really quick. You can
No,
keep
no, that
going.
was really good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Are you done with your section?
Yeah, I think that mostly hits on it. Yeah, it's just that spot is going to give you a control both over where your height is going to be at, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also going to make it a whole lot easier to control where your twist is at throughout the latter half of your cork if you've got your eyes fixed on the ground. Uh, Jason and Frank were making fun of me earlier for being a rising person by doing this, but I
Yeah.
really think fundamentally it's a whole lot easier for you to make a decision about what minor thing needs adjustment if you can get some visual evidence of where you're at, and looking at the ground is the easiest way to do this. So that's my two
Yeah.
cents.
Yeah, like Bryce was saying, I was just, I don't know. I feel like everyone who loves Rise, like Rise is one of their main tricks. They just have the biggest hard on for spotting. Like spotting is just like insanely important, and it is important. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like I could tell Bryce is such a Rise head just from the tip he gave, and so yeah. But yeah, Jason, what about you?
Um, so kind of quirk related, but also secretly like not quirk related is finding a very comfortable setup, like a setup that you feel comfortable running, using to do quirk. Um, and training, like, putting a lot of time and emphasis on training that if that is your like most efficient setup, because, um, you already have like a natural comfort with that. So working on that and developing that is going to, pay some dividends when you're trying to do bigger stuff later on. And that's not to say that you shouldn't just ignore other setups because it's obviously important to, um, diversify. If you find yourself doing a lot of a particular setup, you may find yourself like wishing that you had spent time doing other setups. Like,
Are you speaking from personal?
yeah, exactly. Like, for
Experience?
example, like I did a lot of master scoot corks, and like as a result, trying to do TD rise corks is like a little different, and I wish I had spent skill points into TD rise cork versus master scoot, but
It's
it is
much
what it is.
easier to go from touchdown rise and Gumby style corks to master scoot corks than it is the other way around.
Yeah. Um,
See, it is easier, but I still choose not to because TDR is Chad. So I don't know. It's
yeah, exactly, and that's why I should have taken the Frank route. Is what it is.
I love
Yeah.
hearing a master scooter just be remorseful about their life choices.
I mean, it still got the job done. It's just like, at what cost? Um, but yeah, another thing too is like with that setup, like, really develop it. Find ways that you can use it to enhance your quirk and the various types of quirks that you'll be doing. Because like there's some times where you'll like use your setup to block really hard for like, a super high quirk. Or versus like if you're gonna use you might use like TD Rise, it's a little lower and faster for a quirk that you're gonna swing.
Yeah.
So really just like spend a lot of time developing your setup and a setup that you're comfortable with and that you enjoy, one that you can see yourself doing for a long time. And yeah, do that one. Don't make
Yeah.
mistakes in choosing the wrong setup.
What I got from that is just learn TDR.
Or Rise, that's a really cool one.
Yeah. No, I mean, no. Realistically, though, yeah, I would say get comfortable with the setup, but also diversify yourself a little bit. Do a little
Yeah.
bit of both. Because now all I do is fucking TDR, and I do wish I could do other things, but also, I mean, TDR is goated. So
Yeah,
Right.
Gumby
And there's
corks-
a lot less regret when you go the TD Riser out. Let's just say that.
Gumby corks are bay.
Yes.
Gumby corks. Oh my gosh, yeah, Gumby.
Though
Um,
honestly though, nothing feels quite as good as being able to just like, Scott Skelton strut into a scoot double quirk. It feels pretty good. And not many people can scoot double quirk as well. Then yeah, I don't know. In this day and age, it's not as big of a deal, but you don't see many scoot trips.
you should make your main setup just Kadem. Like I'm talking to all the intermediates out there. Just that should be.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
Blaster scoot.
Yeah, Blaster Scoop or Kadem, whatever you want to call it. And like they're two different things, right? One's the
Yeah,
hand.
yeah, those are
Yes.
fundamentally different, Frank.
Yeah. See, I just don't waste my time with setups that aren't TDR, so I couldn't tell you anything.
Yeah, we
All
were
right.
talking about scoot-based tricks again.
Here
Yeah.
we are. Someone said the word Kadem, and then we've lost ourselves. Come on, we've got to get back to advanced cork knowledge, man. That
Wait.
Ty Lopez knowledge.
Yeah, but isn't that what trick theory is about? Is just talking about niche tricks.
Kadem, yeah. Trick theory is all about Kadems.
Yeah, exactly.
Every
But-
trick is a Kadem.
Yeah, but getting to the advanced stuff, here's where all the people who have landed corks and have kind of gotten better and better at corks and have different types of corks like swing corks and corks where they want to go high, like
You can really feel cork in your soul, right? You
Yeah.
have your artistic sense of what it means to do cork well. You don't need to hear us tell you what a good cork looks like or doesn't look like or any of that. Not that necessarily any of the other people do either, but
yeah.
you've got all of that basic ish all figured out, and what you really care about now is the pursuit of truth. You've made it beyond all of that other simple shit, and you need to know. And that's what we're here to do for you. We're here to get you to know.
Yeah.
We're here to teach you, yeah.
You
Break it
need
down.
the platonic ideal of a cork, and that's what we're getting to right now. Is the platonic ideal of a cork.
No, we're just
Um,
going to talk a little bit about some of the more esoteric aspects of corkscrews. one of the most interesting things in particular is kind of how corks have changed over the years, right? The cork that we know nowadays, that we see nowadays, is really an evolution of a trick that began in the early days of martial arts tricking, as it would have been called then, and has become what it is now as a result of pressures, evolutionary pressures, really, from the sport itself. So, which of you two would like to speak to this to the beginning days, the early days?
Yeah, so, I mean, when we were doing our research last week or 2 weeks ago, the earliest verifiable video that we could find of a cork being done was a like sports karate kid or something like that, doing a cork. That being said, I did bring up to the boys that I'm pretty sure I've seen an earlier video of a capoeira guy doing a cork. But regardless, this is around maybe late 90s, early 2000s where we start seeing cork come up. You know, there's definitely a chance that people have done it way before in the past, maybe in the fucking medieval times. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But earliest verifiable cork looked like shit. It was really horizontal. It was even I would describe it as looking.
I think we could be fair and say that it looks like shit by modern standards.
By modern standards, it looked amazing back then. Absolutely, it's like, what the fuck is this? And there's there's a type of cork that I've been talking to the boys about that is I think it's theoretical. I don't think it's a real trick because you have to like defy the laws of physics. But the reason I bring it up is because I think this was the early conception of what a cork was, which was inaccurate. But it's basically, instead of our modern conception of cork where we have a flip axis to it, where we're flipping over ourselves, even if we're horizontal, like we still have that flat spin axis. I think the way that people looked at what cork was is kind of like you would bring your leg up, then you'd like stay in midair, you would twist, and technically it was a little bit more rotation to be able to get down again. So you would come back from where you came from. And I feel like the reason I bring this up is because I'm pretty sure that's how people conceptualize corks, because you could kind of see it in how they do it. And this is what the earliest cork kind of looked like, if you guys agree with me. But
yeah, there was definitely a conscious attempt at keeping the corks horizontal and having it be sort of like a kick up, spin around that leg, and not necessarily have any additional flip or of any other kind to it. And like Frank was sort of alluding to with his description of it, it's really hard to do from like a mechanical standpoint. Like if you try to describe putting yourself into that position, well, by swinging my leg up to my side, I have given myself flat spin momentum. Where the hell is this momentum supposed to go? Well, according to the early practitioners of cork, according to the early conception of this trick, it just is supposed to go nowhere, right? It doesn't exist anymore after my leg gets where it's supposed to be, except by the conservation of angular momentum, we just know that can't be the case. As a result, corks have some amount of flat spin. They kind of resemble B-twists in that way, at least as they do much more when you're swinging your leg over horizontally.
Yeah. And to kind of break down what Bryce just said there too a little bit more, once you're in the air with any trick, all the energy that you have put into that is there. Like you can't gain more energy, or you can't release. I mean, you lose energy obviously to friction and stuff like that. But for the most part,
assuming the friction in the air is going to take away from your energy in a small amount. Basically, once you're in the air with whatever energy you've got, that's the energy you've got.
Exactly. And so you might be asking, okay, but like I can speed up and slow down with my tricks while I'm in the air. And yeah, that has to do with the shapes you make in the air, but the total energy,
moment of inertia.
Yeah, exactly. It's the ice skating concept that we brought up before. But for the most part, not for the most part, it's true that all the energy that you brought up into the air, that's what you have. Like you can't add or take away. So like Bryce was saying, you have that energy that's going in a certain axis, either flat spin or upside down. You can't just get rid of that. It has to keep going. So you can't just change position in the air. So yeah, that was kind of like the proto cork kind of thing, and it started getting refined more through like sports karate and all these extreme martial arts things. And then we start to get to more of the modern tricking era. Bryce, were you going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was going to say it's and at first, early on in the days of sport karate and martial arts tricking, it, like most other tricks, were just occasionally thrown in between various punches and other sorts of kata and stuff. So you weren't really seeing major combos that had lots and lots of tricks in sequence. And as a result, having a cork that didn't have the greatest exit and entry as far as like, maintaining your momentum is concerned, that wasn't so much of a problem at that time. Now, as tricking begins to modernize, people are less concerned with doing sport karate, throwing, hand stuff in between their tricks. They're more interested in the tricks themselves, putting them in sequence and seeing how they can make combos. And as the drive pushes itself towards combos more and more, the issues with the conservation of momentum and Cork's original conceptions start to become more clear. Right? If I need to maintain my momentum going into and out of this trick, especially the case with swing throughs, then the fact that I'm sort of cutting off my ability to do more tricks by doing this cork in a very sort of strange way, that's just going to, even without people consciously trying to change it, that's just going to naturally change into the more 45-degree and less horizontal cork that we see today, which incorporates some, vertical flipping into it, because that's just simply an easier way to store the momentum that you're getting, the linear momentum that you're getting by doing combos in line with your momentum by just going in the same direction over and over again. If you do 3 tricks that all go in the same direction and at the very end you want to do a cork, it's going to be easier to do a cork that has a little bit of vertical flip to it than it is one that's purely horizontal over the side, just as a result of your translational momentum all going in one direction.
Yeah. And so I feel like the realization of this came around the time that tricking started to actually become called tricking. And with this realization, I think, the idea of trick theory started to pop up. And I feel a very integral part of that was when we started to realize, okay, gainer's its own thing. That's when you do a backflip and you take off one leg. Once we conceptualized that, I think people started to mess around with the idea of like, okay, how can we variate different things? How can we do this? And that's where the idea of gainer full popped up. And so at the time, I don't think people put it together yet, but they were like, okay, cork is this trick, and then we have gainer full, which is like where you do a gainer and then you twist. And because people didn't realize it was the same trick at the time, it was like, okay, those are 2 different things, and they're very separate. I think now we definitely see that differently. People,
it's even more, I think, than I think it's not necessarily that they were the same trick in the eyes of trickers at the time. It's that over time, our standard for what a cork is has shifted to the point where there isn't a meaningful distinction to us. There isn't a meaningful distinction for most of us between a gainer full and a cork. And as a result, they are the same trick to us nowadays. But back then, back at the time when these tricks had first come about, this is something that people were concerned about. People did distinguish between the two of them, and where nowadays we would simply say, doing a cork vertically versus doing a cork horizontally, we can still get the same idea across with slightly different language. They in their idea, in their conception of these things, they were different tricks, which is just not how we would describe them today. We would describe them as the same trick done differently, done just a little differently.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that in past tricking terminology and theory as well, with like high rise and low rise, etc.
Exactly. Right. Those were the same trick done slightly differently, and anybody who disagrees could fight me in the streets about it.
There was also Frank, some of those like oddly named tricks too. We touched on them in the past in like episodes prior, but things like hyper hook and hyper swipe, just like
TIE fighter.
Yeah, exactly. All these like really dumb names that refer to like a transition and a trick rather than just like the trick itself.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like really bad terminology from when tricking was first forming.
Yeah.
And that kind of played into this.
It.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Go on.
I was just gonna say historically, yeah, there's always been like debates about stuff like gainer full and high rise, low rise, and whether or not they're the same. Rise twist and cheat 720 twist, etc. You know.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny because now we know better, and now Gainerful and Cork are the same thing, and like all these different tricks are like we don't have a distinction between high rise and low rise. So we've wisened up to that, but I think there's still remnants of that with other.
Oh,
tricks
I was literally gonna say like cheat 720 twist and rise twist are literally still like kind of debated today, even though they're just the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it would refer to like different styles of cheat 720 twist in the same way that high rise and low rise.
Yeah, exactly.
Different styles.
Different emphasis in the way in which you're deciding to execute. But if you look at, the foot positioning, takeoff and entry, takeoff and landing, it's like all of this stuff matches up. You're talking about the same trick executed slightly differently, which is fine. We have room in our language for that, and there's definitely room in tricks for that because that leads to a much wider diversity of combos that you can end up seeing. And maybe you really do want the combo where you have this one as opposed to that one, and I would prefer to have it that way.
Well, and if I'm honest though, I would say that rise twist is a more appropriate name for this trick, just due to the fact that cheat kind of like isolates the amount of setups that you can do.
I think we benefit from actually having both names because now we have an easy way to just I don't necessarily know if it would like high rise twist or low rise twist would be able to convey the meaning of the difference between those two tricks. Whereas when we say cheat 720 twist versus rise twist, it not only does it have the historical connotation that allows all of us to know exactly what's meant there, but by saying rise twist, it's very clear that you're sort of emphasizing that you mean to do a rise first and then do a twist, whereas the cheat 720 twist kind of alludes to the fact that it's more of like taking off like a cheat kick.
Bryce, you're such a rise head.
I feel like the language in that particular case actually ended up working out, despite the fact that it was completely grassroots and it wasn't made to be, it wasn't made to be very good, but it ended up working out entirely in our favor in that case.
I think it's okay, as long as we can all agree that it's the same base trick. It's just rise twist, but cheat 7 twist is probably a stylized version.
Well, Bryce, by your logic, wouldn't you also be agreeing with gainer full versus corkscrew? Or are you just saying that there's just not enough?
I'm just saying that no, because I think horizontal and vertical does a better job of describing it. Whereas, like I was saying before, low rise twist and high rise twist, like come up with a better word to append to rise twist to convey cheat 720 twist than just saying cheat 720 twist.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
I think it's just the better terminology.
It's just such typical, like you just rise is my favorite trick. That's the only one that should have a distinction. But
Bryce refuses to acknowledge his bias.
He's literally like Rise Master Race.
I know. Bryce refuses to acknowledge his bias for Rise.
Yeah.
Unironically, and it's because it's the correct bias.
See.
Well, so
it's not bias at all. It's just the truth.
Exactly. I'm glad you're starting to see things how they are.
That was right.
That's why Bryce was trying to get us to agree that every trick is the same trick earlier, because every trick is a rise. So therefore, every trick would be his favorite trick.
You're starting to catch on to my plans.
Too bad April Fool's has already passed. I would literally rename the episode for Every Trick is a 9 to Every Trick is a Rise, just for Bryce.
Yeah. So what I was trying to get at earlier, though, with some of the remnants, was actually I was thinking, and I'm not sure, Bryce, if you would agree with me, but B twist and A twist, I think is also.
Oh, fuck me then.
Yes.
Well, I know you agree with me, Jason.
Oh.
That's why I mentioned Bryce. But
you're right. Same trick done differently.
Yeah, same trick. It's just a different level of inversion. And, some might argue, just as Bryce did, that, it is a useful distinction, and so we should keep it. But at its fundamental core, these are still fundamentally the same trick, just done differently. So
yeah, they have stylistic differences, but we can't tell. Like, mechanically, they are nearly indistinguishable.
Functionally the same, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's interesting that we've been very selective about like what we keep, and like Bryce is saying, it's been very grassroots. Like there's not been like an entity that thought about this really deliberately and was like, yes, this is what we're keeping. This is not,
And because I'm a topologist, I can make that nearly indistinguishable, very topologically concrete. There's a what we call a homotopy or a deformation from the vertical version to the horizontal version of any one of these tricks that we've been talking about. Which means you could continuously deform a trick from being horizontal to being vertically, and at every stage in between horizontal and vertical, there is a version of this trick which has that level of inversion. And that's not necessarily going to be the case for two tricks that you would actually have to distinguish this way. But any pair of tricks, horizontal and vertical, that does have this property, yeah, they're basically the same.
And I would say that that's closer to what happens in practice too, because not every time that you do a cork or any trick is it always 100% horizontal and the same level of inversion that you did it last time.
Exactly,
But
and
we
that's
would
the thing.
still call it the
Because we're going to have to put error bars on all of these things anyway, like saying that one is different from the other by one of these things that we would ultimately have to say is down, it could be incorrect up to error anyway. Yeah, it makes sense to just call them the same thing.
I just find it so funny that dude would literally bring up math proofs to disprove every trick except for rise.
Look, sometimes someone somewhere is going to be thinking to themselves, that Bryce is wrong. I just want them to know in their heart of hearts that I can prove that I'm right mathematically.
Yeah, this is a mathematical truth, so fuck off if you disagree. So, while we're still talking about corks, I guess we weren't talking about corks, but while we're trying to stay on the topic of corks, I did bring up the Club 540 descriptions of corkscrew and gainer full because I feel like that would give us a good, glimpse into the past because, this was made so many years ago and when we had a very different conception. So it says here that corkscrew is a B-twist, already just like unhinged, is a B-twist from a mooncake approach. As the base leg pivots into the mooncake, the hands are brought back. It kind of just describes how to do it. But
it's hilarious that it used a more obscure trick to describe a less obscure. Like, if someone asks me what a corkscrew is, and I tell them, it's a B-twist from a mooncake approach. Like, fuck, can you tell me what the fuck a mooncake is, real quick? Jesus Christ,
and a B-twist, like what?
It's just like saying like someone did a backflip. It's like, whoa, what's a backflip? It's like, it's like a back full but without a twist. It's just like...
Exactly. It's like, what the fuck, man?
So yeah, it's a very weird description of it. Like B-twist, the corkscrew is supposed to have a flat spin of 180. So at this time, they kind of already did have a conception of there's a flat spin access to it, which is nice. But it should be noted that it was exclusively flat spin. And the reason for this is because they have this other trick, gainer full, which was not. It was completely inverted. As stated here in the last sentence where it says a gainer full must be fully inverted.
I love the exclamation point at the end, like they're really driving it home. Like
must be fully inverted. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, intermediate trick, gainer full, get it. It's one of the coolest tricks out there. So yeah, me and Jason, and I'm sure Bryce as well, because we kind of did tricks at the same time, kind of grew up, like, at least in the early times, looking at Club 540 to reference some tricks. So it's not the oldest resource, but it's still pretty...
it's pretty classical, at least to our era, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually surprised that Cork has that as its like description and like tutorial, so to speak, for it, considering that like Club 540 has been slightly updated to include things like quad cork and such, and the concept that we talked about with cork being more inverted to preserve momentum existed well before people were doing quad cork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I don't know who runs Club 540, to be honest with you. But they're definitely an old head, and not even old head in our sense, an old head, as evidenced by like all the
ancient head
names. Yeah, ancient head. Maybe that's the right term for it. That was the era before us, before tricking was all about twists and stuff.
The golden years.
Yeah,
and tricking was pure. Make tricking great again.
Honestly, I think
When
so.
they had like absolutely no fucking clue what the various difficult. I don't know if the page is still laid out by difficulty, but I remember the old difficulty assignments for the old Club 540 were just fucking wrong. They were just
So bad.
all wrong. There's so many tricks that were just like, I don't remember It's been so long now that I couldn't tell you which
I have a distinct one that I recall, Bryce, and it was Donut Boy being a what the fuck trick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And-
exactly. It's like stuff like this where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, that's fucking. You can't tell me that's that hard. But then there would be stuff in like beginner shit that would be ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
Like aerial switch. Like what
Exactly.
newbie is
It's like,
doing
holy
aerial
fuck,
switch?
Who's doing aerial switch as a beginner? What
As
the
a
fuck?
beginner trick up here, yeah, I have it up.
Okay, Rasmus Ott. Jesus.
Yeah, like
So good, dude. I love
put
this
that in a
page.
combo. Like, like oh my god.
And smoke it.
Yeah, but you're right. They have updated. Like we have quad cork up here. Oh, but interesting to note the
Yet to
quad-
be landed.
Yeah,
I guess you're right. I guess I shouldn't have. But like triple butterfly twist and triple aerial twist. I can't believe I called it triple butterfly twist just because I read it that way. But
That's what I'm
I
saying.
love the
This,
full
this
name.
still calls everything corkscrew and butterfly twist and aerial twist. But it should be noted their quad cork has Guthrie from his 2012 sampler trying quad cork. So
that was
this
pretty close, actually.
Oh
What
no!
the hell?
this is
Wait a
insane.
minute. They have Herald switch as in Ben Herald switch and Herald switch as in the Herald me like what the fuck? What is that? What?
This is just the Gumby switch. That's
I
all
like
it is.
how this is in.
I like that how that's in
Fucking-
the WTF.
What the
trick.
fuck? Yeah.
Also, I miss
Graham
Ben
Cracker is also in. I mean, like,
I think Ben
Ben Harold
Ben
come
Harold
back.
made this page.
You
I'm
can
sorry.
blame it all on. But anyway, so what the hell? Who is this Herald?
They're
What the-
different heralds. I think they just
Wait,
fucked
what?
up.
It's the same fucking trick. But why?
Okay.
So
Ben Harold
okay,
did
so
not
not
make
only
this.
are they an old head, but I think they're not entirely sure how websites work either. Because that was
Yeah.
clearly a mistake.
Do they have an updated double gainer?
why is
okay,
illusion?
well,
Why is
okay.
illusion hyperhook in here as well?
Yeah, what the fuck trick?
Like-
dude? It's
like,
oh,
not
this
quite.
is
Yeah, what
Shuriken
on earth?
Hyperhook. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, this guy, this guy is kind of crazy.
All right, guys, we're popping off. Stay tuned for our Club 540 roast because
Have
Yeah,
we not
seriously,
already done
yeah,
this,
we're-
Frank? I thought we did that already.
Okay, we actually did record one, but I kind of want to do it again because I feel like we have updated opinions, and I need to rewatch it to make sure. But I feel
Yeah,
like,
this will serve as the preview to the Club 540 roast, which we are all apparently raring to do.
absolutely. I mean, Bryce, you weren't there for our Wikipedia roast, but that was one of my favorite episodes. I fucking love doing that shit. Like, anyway,
Was it the Wikipedia tricking page that you guys roasted, or what was it?
Yes.
it was the Wikipedia page, and it's so funny because now it does not have a Trictionary, which it did before, and
That's
they got
funny.
rid of it.
You scared their shit off of the internet. They were just
But
like,
it's
"God."
great because now we actually have like a document of what the Trictionary was because of our video.
Yeah,
That's funny.
that's true. It will never be wiped off the face of the earth.
I guess Micah Carnes is now the representative for tricking.
I mean, he was always there.
That's all right.
This needs to
Hey,
be.
I think
I wish
that's
it-
not the worst.
Can one of our fans please fucking update this page? Like, I am too lazy to do it.
Seriously.
But I just
You
don't.
think people are trying and there's just like whoever made the Club 540 page is just sitting there every day refreshing, constantly trying to prevent people from making edits?
Probably. All right. Well, we've derailed from corks. I actually do want to get to the point of talking about different transitions to corks because I think we are always thinking about swings into cork, and that is criminal almost. Actually, I would say because you can.
No,
do...
it is. It is not almost criminal. It absolutely is.
Mhm.
We have painstakingly went through all of the possible transitions in tricking,
Mhm.
at least as we currently understand them. And swing is just but one of them.
Mhm.
There's already like 8 different swings, right? And we're only doing one, And I mean, obviously, we can only do one for cork, kind of, but
Yeah.
there's still other transitions. So
But
many.
I'm
Other...
my controversial
Someone
opinion.
front swing into cork, please. Jesus Christ. I'm just-
Well, I mean, again, barring my controversial opinions.
Rise is
Bryce
the
thinks
quick, I
Bryce
guess.
thinks all twists are just it's all just twist.
Yeah.
It's just
It's all it's all just either a front or a back flip.
God. I think collectively we're all just gonna burn trick theory to the ground. This is so bad. Alright.
so transitions into corks.
Okay, what first of all, the question is what types of transitions can you do into course? Because you can't do all of them. You can't pop into a
Right.
cork.
No, you can't. You obviously can't do any transition that takes off of 2 feet or takes off of your right foot, because then it would be not a cork.
well,
And
for
you
left
also have to be going
twisters.
correct. Thank you for that quick
Mhm.
addendum. Um, but essentially that, right? Like we can't do any obviously sequential takeoffs or right leg takeoffs, and we have
Did
to
you
be
say
going
we
backward.
can't or we can?
We can't do any right leg takeoffs for quirk because then it wouldn't be a
Oh,
quirk,
okay. I
right?
thought you said
Fundamentally,
for sequential.
no.
Because
I
sequential we
meant
can do.
I may actually have said sequential, but I meant to say unified.
Okay. Yeah, we can't do unified. That's really the main thing. But pretty much every other transition is fair game in terms of redirect because it's a sequential takeoff. Or a swing is obviously the one leg takeoff that you can use, but also carry through is the other one leg takeoff you can use. Everything else is going to be sequential. So that's redirect, reversal. Wow.
You can actually do bound as well, reverse pop.
You could do a bound,
Um,
actually. That's true.
Yep, you could bound. You just have to do it in a way that ends sequentially,
Yeah.
and then, like I
You
said,
could
you can reverse
vanish.
pop and
Yeah.
vanish,
Reverse pop and vanish.
redirect. Can
Yeah.
you reversal? Yeah,
Yeah, you can reversal. And actually, I should say that's probably one of the most underdone. So what you would have to do for that is, oh my god, what would you have to do? You would have to land left. Wait, hang on.
you would essentially like scrape the floor trying to swing. You would like
If you go
you
with
would
your momentum, yeah.
deliberately, yeah, you'd deliberately land like left, right from a full, from example, right? Your
Mhm.
left foot would land, then your right foot, and then you would swing your right foot up after it had touched the ground, pick it up, swing it, then jump off your left foot again.
Oh,
Have
and
this leg's been addressed? Can
We're
you-
talking. Oh, I'm sorry.
reversal.
He had asked if they could be addressed.
Yeah, is that
Oh!
possible?
Yeah, wait,
Yes.
wait. Let me say something before we get to misleg because you brought up the type of reversal where it's like you're coming from a full and landing incomplete. You could also land in mega and go the opposite direction for reversal. So that would be you land mega left, right, and then you kind of go back the way you came. And
Put your
lift
right
that
foot
leg.
down. Yeah,
Mhm.
your right foot would still have to touch the floor, but you could do like an aerial scissor, for example, where you'd land left, then you'd police your right foot down and then kind of kick it back up and go against them, for sure.
And that kind of gets into misleg if you want to talk about that, Jason.
Yeah, the misleg would essentially be that same exact thing. Because if correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, we decided misleg was like when you go in the opposite direction of your momentum.
No
So-
swing against momentum. Yep.
Right. So if you were to do a misleg cork, you would be doing like an aerial scissor, essentially, and then after your left foot lands and your right foot is still in the air, you kind of just like yeet a cork, going backward. Essentially, it almost be like the opposite of like a would we say like a punch, essentially like a single leg punch.
Mhm.
I don't think we had like an actual thing for that, but it's essentially that, but just against your
We
dom.
we do have something for single leg punch. It's rapid.
That's right. Yeah, essentially rapid just against your dom.
No,
Like, yeah,
rapid is with dom.
No, I know. I was
Sorry.
differentiating misleg between in this instance it would be like a rapid but against your dom.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And Bryce, I don't know if you've talked with us about rapid, but the way we've defined misleg and rapid is they're both the same thing in that they're not swings. So there's never a point where your right leg is passing your left leg, but one is with momentum, the other one's without against momentum. So misleg against momentum.
So there's not a distinction based on the because I was always brought up to be of the understanding that misleg, even though there's no swing because your ankles are not allowed to pass each other.
Mm-hmm.
There is still leg bend allowed, whereas for a rapid it's a punch, so there's no leg bend.
Yeah, you would and ideally you would probably end up bending your leg to kind of get that jump, like especially if you were going from like aerial scissor, like I had described. I didn't mean to make it sound exclusively like a punch. It'd just be similar. You would have a lot more time, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the reason we picked that as a distinction is because we have heard that definition of rapid before, where it's just like your leg is straight, but that seems like a weird. I don't know. To me, it's like A, that's a dangerous setup to have, and B,
I
like
mean,
a very
to
weird
say nothing of the fact that punches probably shouldn't be in acrobatics to begin with. Gymnasts can fight me on that too, but I just think it's a bad idea.
Right.
It's not really good for us to be doing those, a lot of them, over over our careers.
Yeah, I have a theory that I'm working on that you can save your joints a lot more if you do swings than if you do punches. But hit me back up once I got that research through. So yeah, so that's why we have that our distinction of rapid and missed leg, and I think it's a very useful distinction too, because now you could look and you can describe the landing and the transition, and I know exactly what's happening. It's like, oh, he landed mega and did a missed leg cork. Okay, now I know exactly what that was. And oh, he landed complete and did a rapid cork. Oh, his leg was already in front of him, and that's how he landed. If that makes any sense. So
Yeah, it does make it kind of clear to visualize.
Mm-hmm. It does the same work as fake landings. Like it does the exact same job as in like, okay, oh, this is, instead of saying he landed in, what is it, fake, oh my god, fake mega. I need to think about this like a million times. Fake mega into a cork. I could just say that he landed incomplete and he did rapid cork, and it's the same thing. So, and less thought, in my opinion.
Yeah, with what I would say is less confusing terminology as well.
Mm-hmm.
We can use what already exists and not
Mm-hmm.
abstract further.
Right. I actually do want to talk about fake landings soon, though, again, because I did have a trick theorist bring up really interesting points to me, so stay tuned for that episode, because I think there might be actually a place for it. Hot take from the trick theory crew, I guess.
That's only you saying that, Frank. A hot take from you. Don't.
Yeah, well, what I mean is hot take from Talking Tricks, because we're so anti-fake landings. But
that's not Talking Tricks sponsor. That's just Frank. It's just Frank and Tourist. There's two other people here, Frank, that have not come to that same conclusion.
Well,
right.
I'll be interested to hear his arguments.
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying that we won't hear him. I'm just,
So do we have anything more interesting to add about the concept of cork, about its history, about different?
We were actually
people.
we were talking about how these are all like criminally underdone transitions into cork.
Yeah,
like there's just so many different ways. However, there's also another slight terminology issue that we've talked about in the past, and that's with the boneless prefix for cork. Notice there's no boneless anything else, by the way. Just thought I would get that out there.
Well, actually, I think Towels does address boneless A-twist and stuff in his original boneless video. But regardless, I mean, it's just easier to say vanished A-twist. But okay, anyway, boneless for the uninitiated is where you vanish into a cork. That's essentially the idea. And it's kind of how you would picture it. So if you could picture landing left, right, and then... landing right, left, and taking off right, left. That would be what a vanish looks like. But he does seem to extend the definition to also include reverse pop.
It seems to be a catch-all to describe a cork that wasn't entered in through a traditional swing, which is generally not the best way. Like, we should have more specific rather than less specific terminology. So calling out the particular transition is better than just saying boneless cork if boneless is essentially just going to be meaning not swing.
Right.
That's the point of having it if we're going to have to state the transition again anyway.
Exactly. So you heard it here first. We're decidedly anti-boneless. That being said, Towels...
All of these wings have bones, boy.
Yep.
That being said, Towels did recently post a video where he also clarified his point of view on boneless. And he made I think this is a lot, but he made a differentiation between vanished cork and boneless cork. And his differentiation is is the swing leg behind the plant leg when they take off. And so what I mean by that is like the boneless corks we've been seeing is like they're kind of both the legs are right next to each other when the right leg takes off. Towels showed a video of someone who landed on his right leg, and it looked like he was doing a skip, but he didn't do a skip. He just like went to his left leg, and his right leg was still behind him, and then he went for a cork.
Yeah, I don't know if I would buy that because vanish doesn't necessitate that your ankles pass each other.
Right. Exactly.
As a transition. Like, there's no reason. Like, it's still a vanish. It vanishes just based on the sequence of your leg takeoff and landing. It has nothing to do with whether your ankles pass each other.
Right. Yeah. To me, those are obviously just
as my example, marks. By the way, so that I'm not just talking out of my ass. Sideswipe vanish cartwheel, sideswipe vanish aerial. Your ankles will not pass each other.
Right. But I mean, yeah. Regardless, it's just vanish. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying is because in his definition of vanish, it's like, oh, the ankles have to pass each other, but in the practical
he's saying it's not. He's saying a vanish cork would be one where your ankles pass, whereas this boneless is one where it doesn't. Where I'm saying they're both vanish. One is just like, you've incorporated this ankle passage into your transition, which is totally allowed in a vanish. It doesn't make it not a vanish.
Right. Well, what would you say to someone who did a side swipe? And then, so they landed the side swipe, and then they crossed their left leg behind their right leg.
And then, like, they swung their leg around them. I would say that they've now added a pivot into their transition.
Right.
So it's now technically a compound transition.
Like a redirect or something.
Exactly.
Okay. Actually, that is a redirect, yep. Okay, what if they didn't pivot? They just had it behind them. I think I would still call that a vanish, personally.
I actually, honestly, when I think about this, it is kind of Muggle Slayer-esque in that what I think the idea Tiles is going for is a backward twisting full where the swing with like essentially like a front swing quirk, right? Where instead of like swinging forward, you'll be swinging backward. Your leg will be behind you as you take off into a quirk. Almost similarly to how like Muggle Slayer is unintuitive to its swing versus twist, right? I think there could be something there, but I don't
necessarily even disagree that these things should be distinguished. I just think that if you're going to call one vanish and the other not, then vanish should be what boneless is currently, and whatever the other one is where you actually have ankles passing. Like you're saying, it's a vanish plus this ankle passing thing. That needs a new name.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and I think this might, like you said, might warrant some differentiation. But as of now, the way I classified in my head, like both of them are vanish. So
yeah, I would say that I don't see I don't see the need for there to be a distinction.
Yeah, and to the audience listening, if you have any ideas about this, please leave comments down below. We are always open to hearing people's theories.
No. Think about how often we don't have ankles passing. Like literally, like sideswipe, vanish, aerial. Like your ankles won't cross each other. Like,
exactly. It's just not standard for a vanish at all.
How would they? I mean, you would have to like.
Exactly. It's a really extra additional thing. So having a vanish, and it's not that you can't have vanishes where that does happen, but specifically requiring that of the transition makes it above and beyond a vanish now.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
and so that requires a vanish. It's actually something.
It would be like a sub-classification of vanish, I think, maybe. Like
it's kind of like misleg and swing are both the same sort of transition in the sense that one leg is never touching the ground and your leg is being used to create upward momentum. The swing leg is being used to create upward momentum, but one of them has an ankle passage and the other one doesn't. And this is the same sort of thing. Vanish without the ankle passage and vanish with the ankle passage. They are both the same sort of like thing that have the same takeoff and entry sequencing, but they have this extra. They have that extra piece of information about the relative positions of your ankles that's taken into account. We just don't have a name.
I think we need to revisit vanish. I think we need to like dedicate an episode to it and really like try to hash this out because this is an angle I've never considered and I would like to look at it further. So yeah. But this cork discussion has totally derailed to vanish. Basically the point is do interesting transitions into your corks. They exist out there. You can do pretty much all of them except for the what is it? The unified ones?
Unified.
Yeah. So.
Or compound transitions that end in a unified takeoff.
Yeah. So yeah, get out them, do it, and yeah. I mean, unless you guys have anything else to bring, I think that's all we want to talk about.
No, yeah. If any of you other tricking philosophers out there have some thoughts to share about this, or if you're a tricking historian and you happen to know a whole lot more about who the first people doing corks were and what their idea behind how to execute it was, yeah, feel free to let us know about that because we're very interested.
Absolutely. But yeah, this is Talking Tricks. Glad to be back. As always, thank you for Alexander for being the silhouette. Thank you for Steven Rogers for making the music. And thank you to Stephen French for making the logo. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.